Hey everyone, welcome back to another Fallout 76 video on the channel. With the new Fallout 76 update, we've had 32 new perk changes, and in this video I'm going to be talking about all of them and showing them all off so you can kind of keep up to date with every single one that's changed. All that being said, if you do enjoy, hit that like button, make sure to subscribe, and let's dive straight in. Alright, first of all, we've got some for the melee builds, and the first one's going to be Slugger. It keeps its 3 ranks, however the descriptions have changed. So you've got your melee weapons do plus 10%, plus 20%, plus 30%, however it's now described as damage to crippled targets. Not just all round, the targets have to be crippled for you to get that bonus damage. Now, what was previously called Slugger Expert has now got a new name, and this one's now going to be called Kneecapper, and it's down to only 1 rank, which costs you 2 perk points. As you can see, the new description now says melee weapons deal plus 50% limb damage, in brackets, no power tools. Whether or not that's a buff or not, I'm not entirely sure, but it does take up 1 less perk point and do some extra damage, I suppose, as well, so hey ho, let me know what you think. Now, another one that's changed its name in the same kind of previous, what was the same category, is Slugger Master, which is now changed to Heavy Hitter. This one, though, will cost you 3 perk points still. However, it'll only be 1 rank, so it's just literally 1 card. Now you can't upgrade it or use a lower version of it or anything. And it has a new description, what says, melee weapons deal plus 25% power attack damage, in brackets, no power tools. So again, similar situation, you can't level this one up, but it does give you that extra bonus damage still at the end of the day. Gladiator is another one that has changed its name, and it's now called Wound Salter. It now has 3 different ranks, which are plus 10% damage against bleeding targets, plus 20% damage, plus 30%, but it has to be a bleeding target, which is a kind of new mechanic that's been thrown into the game, which kind of links a lot with like auto axes, chainsaws and stuff as well, and maybe sharp weapons. I'm not entirely sure, I need to do a little bit more reading into that one. Shout out to the Brick and Plum who just decided to randomly pop up as I was recording all of this. I don't actually have them as a friend or anything, but they decided to just pop by and say hello and yeah, type in the text chat, so yeah, shout out to that guy. Now, the next perk on the list that has also changed its name, I don't know what's with all these kind of name changes, but apparently this is the new thing they're going for, and it's going to be Gladiator Master, which has changed its name to Bloodluster, which is now only 1 perk point and 1 special stat, where it's going to be called your Blood effects have your Bleed effects now have 35% more damage and 25% less duration. Iron Fist is only 1 rank and it hasn't changed its name, thankfully, and it now just says your fists deal more damage based on your damage resistance. Now, the old perk that was once called Heavy Gunner is now called Bulletstorm, and this one has received some pretty big changes. This one now says gain 3% damage per 30 ammo spent, 10 max stacks, then it goes to 6% and 9%. So this one has kind of reworked the entire system with it, where basically you will do more damage on more ammo that you shoot into the actual enemy itself. So obviously it maxes out at 10 max stacks, so once you've shot 300 rounds, that's when you're going to be doing the max amount of damage, which I'd like to think will carry over from enemy to enemy. So if you're fighting, say, like a horde of enemies or something, you can be maxing out that damage while shooting all of them, because you've once you've hit the point of like that 300 ammo spent, it should just kind of hold you to that kind of limit as long as you keep shooting. Heavy Gunner Expert is now called Tightly Wound, and it costs 2 perk points, and this one is going to be Weapon Spin up to 60% faster. Heavy Gunner Master's changed its name to Bringing the Big Guns, and it costs you 3 points, and this one is going to be your Bullet Storm stack limit is doubled. So I think in this regard the Bullet Storm stack refers to what we were just looking at in the previous one, where you build that stack up from the amount of ammo spent. So in this case, kind of matching that with the previous perk is going to make it pretty powerful, and definitely one you want to combine. So yeah, I want to check out with that. Lock and Load's changed as well. This is going to cost you 2 points, and this one only has 1 rank now, where it says you keep half of the Bulletstorm stacks when you reload, plus 1% reload speed per stack as well. So another nice bonus, and I'm really liking this kind of change in direction in terms of the effects and what they do. Previously it would just do more damage. Now we're getting kind of more damage in terms of stacks, but also these extra features of reloading faster and stuff like that. Bare Arms is another one that has changed just to one kind of card on its own, costing you 1 perk point, which says each stack of Bullet Storm increases your bash damage by 5%. One that probably a lot of people, in fact maybe you will use it using the kind of minigun variation of the chainsaw thing. Maybe that'll be worthwhile, I'm not sure. Pain Train has had a couple of tweaks. It now says that it has improved your hit detection and limited your hit rate. It counts as a fist weapon, and it's increased the base damage and damage per rank, and now uses 5 AP per hit. So the actual description on the kind of perk you can see on screen says damage and stagger enemies by sprinting into them with power armor, but them little changes I've just mentioned there are the ones that's in the patch notes. Now finally we move into a different category out of the strength and into perception, and this one we've got Bow Before Me, where it now has 2 ranks, where at rank 1 it says your bows and crossbows ignore 20% of the armor and 5% chance to stagger. Rank 2 you get 40% and a 10% chance to stagger. Now Archer has had its name changed as well. It's now going to be called Hat-Trick, and this one now has 3 different ranks as you can see on screen. You've got arrows and throwing weapons bounce towards an additional target dealing 70% damage. Arrows and throwing weapons bounce towards 2 additional targets dealing 70% damage per bounce, and then the final one is 3 additional targets dealing 70% damage. This is one I would really like to test out because it sounds pretty mad. Archer Experts changed its name to Deal Sealer. This now costs you 2 points, and it's going to be 1 rank where it says deal plus 10% damage for each impairment your target has. I'm not sure what impairment means. Master Archer has kind of weirdly not changed its name, even though the other ones have, but it's gone to 3 point cost now, but it's only 1 rank, and it says arrows and thrown melee weapons pierce your targets. Tank Killer is now only 2 ranks, with the first rank ignoring 20% armor and the second ignoring 40%. Fire in the Hole has changed its name to Strong Arm, with now only 1 rank and 1 point cost, seeing a 50% increased throwing range. And the throwing arc that it used to create has actually changed its kind of feature, and it's now in the settings rather than being a perk to get that effect. Home Body has gone down to 1 rank where it says improve benefits of being well rested. As you can see when you actually open it up, it says while in the camp or workshop. That's only when you get these benefits. Stabilizers change as well, now cost you 2 perk points, and its description now says big guns gain 30% accuracy, double if you're in power armor. EMT's also changed, now costing you 2 perk points, but it's only 1 rank, and this says automatically revive down teammates once every 3 minutes, and it grants them increased healing for 1 minute. I like the automatic side of this. There is a little dev note in the patch notes that do say that both players need to be in the same area or interior and within a reasonable distance, however not an accurate kind of description of how much distance that refers to. Injectors, just 1 rank, that says players you revive now have a plus 18 action point regeneration for 1 minute. Revenant now also just 1 rank, this just says players you revive have plus 25% damage for 2 mins, really kind of creating that kind of healer kind of character in this kind of sense. Healing Hands, another one that's only 1 rank now, it says players you revive are fully healed. Rad Sponge now costs you 2 perk points, but it's only 1 rank, and this one will absorb 20% of rads taken and restores your hunger and thirst. Ninja now has 2 ranks, with the first one saying bows, throwing and melee weapons do 50% sneak damage, and the bottom one now says plus 100. However, it's only bows, throwing and melee weapons, nothing to do with anything else, so a bit limiting on that one. On the positive note though, I don't think before this update it actually kind of linked in with bows and throwing weapons, if I'm not mistaken. Psychopath now costs you 2 perk points and only 1 actual kind of rank up on this one. It now says that hits outside of VATS refills your critical meter at a 10% contribution. Grim Reaper's Sprint is also a cost of 2 with only 1 rank. It says any kill in VATS restores your action points based on your luck. Bloody Mess is one that I actually kind of like in a sense. This one has had a kind of knocked down to only 1 perk point cost and also 1 rank, and it just says bleeding enemies you kill have a chance to explode based on your luck. I do believe though this is now kind of removed that damage bonus that we used to get. I did test this out in a short during the PDS and I still think it stands in that kind of regard, which is a little bit annoying. Now, for the first time, I think ever, legendary perks have also had a little bit of a kind of tweak, and the first one being Power Armor Reboot. This now has 4 ranks, as I think it already did. However, the description now says automatically revive using a stim pack if you're downed in power armor once every 10 mins, and then each rank it goes down by 2 mins all the way down to the bottom at 2 minutes at the max rank. However, on the kind of patch notes it also says, as a dev note, the random chance was removed and a cooldown was added. Hack and Slash has also had a little tweak in its description, saying melee attacks do 20% of their damage in a small area, all the way up to 60% of their damage in a large area. However, no power tools are involved in that kind of. Now finally, the last perk that has received some changes is Concentrated Fire, which says adjusted the Concentrated Fire perk to increase the VATS hit chance for non-automatic weapons by 4%, 8% and 12% per shot. Automatic is still 1, 2 and 3. That though, ladies and gentlemen, is all of the perk changes. I kind of like, in a way, the ones that's just dropping to 1 rank. I think that makes it a little bit easier rather than kind of messing around and changing stuff. I do need to review my perks because I've clearly got some gaps here and there. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments below about this. Any ones that really stand out to you. And yeah, that's it for today's video. So I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, hit the like button, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.